Do you want to know how to get kids to stop fighting? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about fighting and sibling rivalry and all those things that make the day go, ah. In this video, I'm going to share with you a true example of some skills that you can use and teach your children to help them learn to stop fighting each other. But first, we're going to talk about sibling rivalry. We're going to talk about those fights, why they occur, and how you can approach the topic with a skills development perspective so that your children can connect with you and with each other, and how you can correct the problems when they occur. So why do they fight? Why all the sibling rivalry? Why does that escalate sometimes to the level it does? Well, there are different things that can actually be factors of why you're experiencing sibling rivalry. Sometimes children go to school all day long and they are with people that are their same age. And then when they're at home, they are dealing with people that are at a different developmental level. And the people at home don't actually respond the same as their peers at school. So that's why it is important when children are at home that they get ample opportunity to play with and feel a bond with their siblings, because if they're constantly trying to communicate with their siblings like they do with same age peers in the neighborhood or at school, they are going to feel frustrated. So that's one thing. They need more time together. But then sometimes parents say, but that's when we have the problem, is when they're having so much time together. Well, at this point, they're starting to just get controlling, probably. Maybe they're getting a little bit annoyed. Sometimes when you're with somebody for a long time, you start to take advantage of them or take them for granted. And so then that's sometimes why you also might start treating somebody the worst, because you actually care about them the most. But all the more reason that we need to just go through it. I think a lot of parents try to pull children apart, have them go do separate things so that they don't fight with each other. When they do that, that actually does maybe give the child a reprieve so that when they come back together, they appreciate each other for a little while again. But I like the idea of teaching the children how to actually solve their problems, how to communicate with someone when they're starting to feel a little bit selfish, how they can self-regulate themselves, when they're starting to feel controlling, how they can self-regulate themselves. So I love the idea of self-government. That's why this channel is called the Teaching Self-Government channel, because the whole idea is that a person learns to self-evaluate, make a plan for themselves, and then follow through so that they can become the best versions of themselves, that they can become emotionally strong, have strong relationships, and that the family can be built on unity and that calm communication that's so very important. So about that calm communication, the children are not going to be calm with each other if the parents aren't being calm with them. So there is kind of a domino effect or a boomerang effect that happens in the family where when one person starts getting frustrated, then everybody gets more frustrated. So when your children are having sibling rivalry and they're getting frustrated with each other, the thing that you have to do is not get frustrated. Don't take it personal. Don't act like it's such a burden. They're just children. They just need to be taught some things. And you're the teacher. That's actually your main role. So I have a whole book actually about roles. This isn't my main parenting book, but it's probably one of my most popular books. This book talks about the roles that parents have and the roles that children have, and helps everybody understand those roles so that they get on the same page. And when I say roles, I don't mean responsibilities either, because anybody could like make dinner or something like that. But I'm talking about who we are to each other. So the parent is a teacher. That's one of their primary roles to their children. The children look to them for that teaching, even if sometimes they don't respond well to the teaching. They do know that that is the job of the parent. And if the parent stops teaching, the child actually starts to feel abandoned, alone, and they start feeling like they're not cared for. So we do need to do that teaching for them. And we need to feel like that's okay. We need to be calm through all of that teaching, because it is okay. That's actually what we signed up for, to teach our children. So we shouldn't feel annoyed when we have to teach them a lesson like how to calmly communicate. This is going to be a vital lesson for their lives, and something that will actually set them apart in the world as a leader if they can learn how to master it. So if you happen to have a sibling rivalry or fighting problem in your home, probably one of the first things that you're going to want to do is get the family on the same page about what you actually are doing as a family in the first place. A lot of times children are very short-sighted. They think only about themselves, about how they feel. Now I know that sounds awful selfish, but it's just the way children are. Their life is about survival and trying to learn and grow and survive the next thing that they have to go through. And so they're really hyper-focused on how they feel. In fact, they learn a lot through feeling, and so that puts even more of a focus on those feelings that they have. Parents also respond a lot to their feelings, so all the more reason they let the feelings out a lot of the time. So when it comes to each other, they try to manipulate with those feelings, and it doesn't always go their way because the other person's got feelings too, and they're not going to care. And so then the strong wills emerge, and they're trying to see in that moment who really is going to dominate here, who really has the control. So when it comes to siblings, there is this desire to see who is the more dominant sibling, because they know that the parents are more dominant of them. But when it comes to each other, how do they know where their standing is unless they know who's the most dominant? So they'll start falling into these traps. So when you are deciding to start on this self-government journey, I highly recommend starting first with something that I call a family vision. Now, if you've been subscribed to this channel for a while, you know that there's actually videos on this channel about the family vision, and there's even more details about the family vision in my book, Parenting a House United. But when a family creates that 20-year vision of the future, it gives the family the reason why that they're going to care about fixing those relationships in the first place. This gives everybody a unified, shared focus going forward and makes it so that it's obvious that we would need to stop fighting and that we would need to correct that type of behavior, because if we don't, then we would be sabotaging our own vision as a family. So we pre-teach the vision, we discuss that, and we also pre-teach them skills that they need for success. So these children's books each teach one of the 4 basic skills. The 4 basic skills take care of 99% of behavioral problems. Skills like following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately are going to be vital to help stop that fighting in your house. The main skills that I'd like to focus on today are the skills in this book, Porter Earns a Quarter, which teach accepting no answers and criticism, and then the skill in this book, Paige Takes the Stage, which teaches disagreeing appropriately. I'm also going to be talking about some skills in this book. This is the main parenting book, Parenting a House United, that will help parents learn the skills that they need in order to teach their children and correct their children in calm and effective ways. So let's talk about accepting no answers. The majority of sibling rivalry and fights happen because children don't want to or don't know how to accept a no answer and criticism from somebody else, or they don't observe proper boundaries. When there's a boundary line that you don't cross over, that's essentially a no answer. So what are the steps to accepting a no answer? The steps to accepting a no answer are: you look at the person or the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, and then drop the subject. When your child knows all 4 of those steps to accepting a no answer, this solves all kinds of problems, because they can know, oh, my sibling is telling me that I can't use that toy right now because they're using that toy right now, so that's a no. So I'm not going to take it away, because if I took it away, that would be me not accepting a no answer. I wouldn't be dropping the subject about that, and it's for sure not a calm body to do that anyway, right? So when the sibling tells me no, or when the sibling's just doing something that I shouldn't, go and try to control or monopolize, those are all no answers. And that's the root cause of the majority of fights and sibling rivalry. So if a child knows that when they are giving each other a no answer, that they do have a responsibility to accept that no answer, that's a game changer for everybody in the family. This also makes it so that if they don't accept a no answer, the parents actually now can be cued to do that effective correction. So you should correct your children. They should get the opportunity to earn a negative consequence. I talk in a lot of detail about what really makes good negative consequences in other videos. I'll refer one to you at the end of this video. So let's talk a little bit about disagreeing appropriately. That purple book, Page Takes the Stage, teaches the skill disagreeing appropriately. This is actually the gateway skill to self-government. It's the skill that they love the most. In this skill, they look at the person, they keep a calm face, voice, and body. They say that they understand the other person's point of view. They share their point of view. They listen to what the other person has to say. They say okay, and then drop the subject. This does not mean that they have to agree with everyone every time. This does not mean that the person who gives the no answer has complete control over the other person. But ultimately, we can't make another person think how we want to. So even if we've tried, but they still don't care or they still don't want to see our way, we need to be okay with that. And we need to be able to say okay about it and drop the subject still so that it doesn't eat us up all day. Normally, these little anxieties that are behind a lot of that fighting and sibling rivalry are stemming from the fact that the person does not feel understood. So what if they could just disagree appropriately with each other? That would be a game changer. So remember, I promised to tell you a personal story from my life. Well, one time I was walking down the hallway, passing by my children's room. So my two youngest children were in there playing Lego together. They loved playing Lego. And suddenly I heard somebody say, "Oh, Porter, you can't use that." It was like the wheels for the Legos, you know, they were building a car or something. "You can't use that. That's a no answer because I am using it. It's in my pile of Legos." So then I hear Porter say, "Okay, London, but I'm going to disagree appropriately." She says, "Okay." And he says, "I know you don't want me to use that wheel that you have in your pile, but you're not using it right now. And I just need to use it for a little bit and then I'll probably build something else. So can I just use it for this thing that I'm building and then you can use it later?" And she was like, "Well, okay, I guess you can, but you have to put it back in my pile after you're done with it." And he said, "Okay." I could have just leapt for joy. I didn't coach it. I didn't help them. They were both little, like maybe ages 6 and 4. Okay? And they're just having this very mature problem-solving interaction with each other because they had skills. That is the power of learning skills. We're just barely scratching the surface here when it comes to teaching self-government and the skills that you need for success. I have a whole website and I've got a podcast and I've got all kinds of things, but on that website are the resources that you need. The website is teachingselfgovernment.com. If you go to that website, there are books, there are trainings, there are all kinds of audio classes and things that you can take there, even a support group where you can ask your questions. This will help you become masters of self-government at your house so that even your children know how to solve problems without your cueing in time. It takes a little practice, but they'll get there. So go to teachingselfgovernment.com. I'll see you there.